It's 5 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I will make a motion to approve the October 22nd regular meeting minutes.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No Phil tonight.
Phil.
And I'll follow that with a motion to approve the October 22nd non-public meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, I've got a wall of date announcements this evening. The Select Board will meet on the following dates. Monday, November 24th for a regular meeting beginning at 5 p.m. Monday, December 8th for our first budget work session, which will begin at 1 p.m. I'm about 50-50 on whether or not I'm going to be able to be at that first budget work session, but I think it still might be okay. All right. We'll keep in touch on that one. December 8th, regular meeting beginning at 5 p.m. December 15th, budget work session beginning at 3:30 p.m. December 22nd, budget work session beginning at 1 p.m. December 22nd, regular meeting beginning at 5 p.m. Then on Monday, January 12th, we'll have the budget finalization meeting at 3:30 p.m. And then our regular meeting that night at 5 p.m. On Monday, January 26th, we'll have a regular meeting. And at that regular meeting, we'll have our first budget hearing, public budget hearing. So that's when we'll go through the entirety of the budget as it would be proposed to the town for town meeting. And then on February 5th, we'll have our second public budget hearing, at which point it will be finalized for taking it to the town. So crazy budget cycle season right now. Town offices will be closed tomorrow in observance of Veterans Day. And any citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before noon the Thursday before scheduled meeting. All meetings are held here in Town Hall as well as available on Zoom. And the Zoom information can be found on the town's website at plymouth-nh.gov.
So just one question. Tomorrow's Veterans Day event starts at 11?
10:30.
10:30, thank you.
10:30, yes. And we've got a good agenda for that. As always, a big thank you to the Recreation Department for all they do to pull together those events. All right, Scott, I'll let you do the town manager's report.
Sure. Thank you, Zach. Spear Memorial Hospital and Ammonoosuc Community Healthcare. A big thank you to Spear Memorial Hospital and Ammonoosuc Community Healthcare for the payment of $10,000 to purchase an additional Lucas device that will be placed on the Rumney ambulance. The Lucas device provides consistent, high quality, and uninterrupted chest compressions during cardiac arrest, which research shows can significantly increase a patient's chances of survival and positive neurological outcomes. And some may ask why on the Rumney ambulance, because they do run mutual aid to Plymouth as our community partner in providing EMS services.
So now we have one on both of our ambulances and on the Rumney ambulance.
That is correct.
That's great.
Spear Memorial Hospital sign replacement. The hospital is wishing to replace the emergency room sign at the intersection of Highland Street and Avery Street on the town street sign pole. The sign will have additional reflective material for easy identification, and the sign will be better placed for those trying to find the emergency room. Spear wanted to make sure that the select board did not have any concerns with this. So they'll be moving forward with it, a much brighter, more reflective sign to get people to our trauma center.
Must be requirements for signs though, right? Only so big,
Correct.
within certain, and who are they working with on that?
Actually, it's in the town right away, so they don't have to work with the planning board. It's
Okay.
a select board decision.
Gotcha, thank you.
So are they going to They're going to submit plans for what that sign's going to look like? Are we going to give them details on?
Basically, it's the same sign they had before. It's a little larger, but the red sign below says Trauma Center.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's the only change.
That's the only
Ah,
change.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, so pretty minimal.
right, gotcha.
Do you need a vote on that since we have the authority to approve it?
Certainly can.
Probably for the best.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Spear Memorial sign replacement as described.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, the Town Hall Comprehensive Energy Audit. On Tuesday, November 4th, Jesse Jennings, Russell Hunt from LCI Energy, Bill Johnstone from the New Hampshire Electric Co-op, Grace Garvey and Brian Eisenhower from the Energy Commission, and I met on the energy audit for Town Hall. The contract has been signed for the audit and will soon start. Our hope is to have the audit completed in December, and we will receive the report that will identify findings and recommendations for work to be completed with a cost estimate and projected savings. The total cost of the audit was $6,000, with $3,000 being reimbursed by New Hampshire Electric Co-op. So that will start, I think, next week with Jesse, with the environmental scientist being here and starting the audit process. Welfare update for October of 2025. During the month of October, Mary Ann had 42 consultations with individuals seeking assistance. The cases range from assistance with adult and elderly services, rent, homelessness, fuel assistance, electricity, and housing, and becoming more complex. Mary Ann has confirmed that SNAP food pantries and food box pickup locations in Plymouth is scheduled for Wednesday, November 26, 2025, at 151 Tenny Mountain Ski Resort from 1 to 6 p.m. Participants that show up must bring their EBT cards. And again, as always, thank you, Mary Ann, for exceptional service in helping those in need. 2026-27 budget update. The 26-27 budget went to the Budget Committee for review on Thursday, October 30th. Ann and I met with the Budget Committee and Capital Improvement Plan Committee on Thursday, November 6th at Town Hall. The next step is department heads will meeting with the Budget Committee on Thursday, November 6th, the 10th, and the 13th. 2026 Hazard Mitigation Plan. The Hazard Mitigation Plan Committee will start meeting on Wednesday, November 19th, with Homeland Security Emergency Management and Hubbard Consulting, the town's hired consulting firm, to start the update of the 2021 Town of Plymouth Hazard Mitigation Plan. The plan is required to be updated every 5 years, and a public notice has been posted in the lobby here at Town Hall in the weekly newsletter. Plymouth Village water and sewer construction, water main installation, construction continues on Reservoir Road and Highland Street. As we receive weekly updates, we will keep residents informed in our weekly newsletter and on the Town of Plymouth Facebook page. Additionally, Jason, Dan Doucette, and I attended the Plymouth Village Water Sewer Asset Management Meeting Level of Service Workshop on Monday, November 3rd. Busting myths and misinformation. I continue to work with Dan and Jonathan on developing a Google form for review that will allow residents to submit questions, even anonymously, and receive direct factual answers from the town. My hope is that this will clear up confusion, address rumors, and keep our community grounded in facts. Plymouth State University Police Services. As we've discussed previously, Plymouth State University Police will be disbanding their force as of February 2026. Interim Chief Buffington and I met with Plymouth State University Administration and Plymouth State University Police Chief Stephen McCabe with regards to taking over police services on campus. This was our first meeting to work on operations, logistics, and financial contribution. I will say the meeting went very well, and we are putting together a financial package that would meet the town's expectations in being able to provide police services on campus. Additional items, my November town manager's message is up on the website. The select board strategic priorities are on the website, as well as the budget schedule for the 26-27. In closing, the best way to stay informed and engaged is to join us at a public meeting. The Select Board meets on the second and fourth Monday evenings of the month at Town Hall. You can also visit the town website at www.plymouthnh.gov to access meeting agendas, minutes, and the latest news. We are committed to open communication and transparency, and your participation is what makes Plymouth so special. And as always, I'm available for questions, concerns, or comments 5 days a week. My door is always open. Thank you.
Scott, the Google form for busting myths and misinformation, do you have a timeline on that?
I need to speak to Jonathan. I will get one and I will send that out.
Cool.
I'm hoping sooner than later. And I think Jonathan's here tonight, so I'll follow up with him.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions for Scott before we move on? Okay. How are we doing on time? Not quite there yet. Let's look at, we have an appointment for Neil McIver to the Plymouth Energy Commission. This appointment comes with,
Zach, they are all in your sign folder there when you get to it as well.
oh, they're in here, yes. Thank you. So Neil wrote to the Energy Commission, wrote to us in reference to the Energy Commission, to the Honorable Plymouth Select Board. This letter is in regards to an appointment to the Plymouth Energy Commission. As a member of the Plymouth Planning Board, I was appointed to serve as a liaison to the Energy Commission. I've been attending their meetings, and they've expressed their desire to have me serve on the Energy Commission. I've long had an interest in promoting the mission of the Energy Commission, and I'm willing to serve if appointed. And then Ashley Saba from the Energy Commission wrote and said, I recommend Neil McIver's appointment to the Plymouth Energy Commission.
All right, now I will make a motion to appoint Neil McIver to the Plymouth Energy Commission.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Do we know what the open positions on the Energy Commission look like? I assume there is an open one because we're appointing.
I don't know what it is, looks like now, but generally in the past, they've needed members.
They've
so.
needed members. They've been understaffed. Just to note on this, it has a term that expires April of 28. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nowhere needs to end up, so we'll do it this way. All right, that was an easy one.
Before you get too far into the next appointments, you'll find that there's several there for the Budget Committee,
Yep.
the CIP Committee.
Yep.
After reviewing all the appointments, we realized that we had a few that were still serving on the budget and the CIP who needed to have their appointments updated. So
we're
that's what you'll find there,
expired.
what's going on with that.
Okay, that's why there's a big chunk. Given that there are 6 of those, I might hold them till after the hearing. Just worried about getting through 6 appointments in 2 minutes.
That makes sense.
That being said, I would be willing to bet we can vote on the Mid-State Community Development easement. I don't see Jonathan
The
here.
easement that's in your package, I believe says insert meets and bounds. Is that the easement that's in your package that Lydia sent out and also in the folder I gave you earlier? We have a revised easement that came through, actually signed by Mid-State, and the meets and bounds have been put in. Once the plan is recorded, if the board approves it, we will put that plan number in, and then the easement gets recorded. There isn't any place for the board to sign, it's just accepting that easement if you believe that you would like to. Okay? So I have a new one here.
Okay. So we don't have anything we actually have to sign there. We
Nope, just
have
a
to-
vote to accept it.
Okay.
You've had your 2 public hearings.
Yes, with no commentary at either one, so I figured that one's pretty safe.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the easement for the Mid-State, where was that?
Community Development easement?
Community Development easement located at, what was it?
101 Boulder Point Drive.
101 Boulder Point Drive.
Oh, no, sorry.
That's not.
Oh, sorry, no, it's down here.
Right, right.
So the easement is located at tax map
Gould Terrace.
110, lot 46, 36 Main Street.
I'll amend with Ann's notes.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion about that easement? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. It's 5:15. Opening a public hearing. The Plymouth Board of Selectmen is holding a public hearing in accordance with RSA 3195B for the acceptance of unanticipated funds from FEMA. The funds are being received for work performed from December 2022 as a result of storm damage and repairs needed for the Hunt Road East culvert. The funds received are in the amount of $18,600. Funds have been received and will be allocated to prevent future flooding and storm-damaged town roads.
Just one quick comment on that.
Yes.
In researching it a little further, these funds have to be used for the engineering of the culvert on Hunt Road. And we will be receiving additional funds for the construction portion of that. But these funds that were delivered to us from FEMA specifically say the $18,600 covers the engineering cost of that culvert.
Okay. And I assume we already paid that engineering cost, or we haven't?
We have not.
Oh, okay, good. All right, any public comments on this acceptance of funds from FEMA? See anybody online? Got a thumbs up from Mr. Hoke.
Accept the money, huh?
Take the money. All right, 5:17, I will close the public hearing. And we've had enough hearings on this that we can vote on it now?
You only needed one public
Only need
hearing
one,
because of
okay.
the amount. Yep.
Perfect.
So I'll make a motion to accept the unanticipated funds from FEMA for the engineering work on Hunt Road culvert in the amount of $18,600.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Quick and easy. All right, back to appointments. So in front of us, we have, if I can find my correct paperwork. The first one is for Jessica Mayhew, who is with us here this evening, who writes,
It was recommended by Sue.
Yeah, Sue.
yeah, so there's some emails around joining, and then Sue said, I'd like to respect Sue Wood, chair of the CIP committee. And this one is for this is for budget. Sue said, I'd like to request the board appoint, sorry, I've got,
Jessica Mayhew's looking at to do both advisory.
yeah,
budget
she's looking to do
and
both. I just was,
CIP.
the letter is in reference to
CIP.
CIP, and the form on top is in reference to, so we'll do the CIP one first. I would like to respectfully request that the board appoint Jessica Mayhew to the CIP committee. Thank you for your consideration. Susan Wood, chair of the CIP committee.
All right, I'll make a motion that we appoint Jessica Mayhew to the CIP committee, and that term shall expire on April 1st, 2028.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
And I think we need to redo that, another appointment that you'll sign at the next meeting, although she'll be at the meetings
Oh, which one, the
coming up.
budget one?
So this one here is for the advisory budget committee. We should have had one for the CIP as well. I don't
I
see it.
do have a form for her for CIP
Yeah.
and for
Okay.
CIP.
All right, just
CIP and
making
CIP.
sure.
No, you're right. I see CIP's in my folder. I don't have the, oh, wait, no, I also have the advisory budget committee. I do.
Oh, yeah, there it
A
is.
lot of
Little out of
these.
order.
There it
That's
is.
right.
I have
Okay.
both of them, yes. I don't have a letter recommending her
Thank
for
you.
advisory budget committee. I just have the letter for CIP.
CIP.
But,
Can I get a second for that?
Mike Courier has recommended her for the advisory budget committee verbally.
yeah, and certainly based on both what I know of Jessica and our need for more smart people on the budget committee, I also strongly endorse her joining. So right now we're doing capital improvement plan committee.
I believe I second that one.
Okay, sorry.
Ted first, Jason second, and then I talked a bunch. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Do we want to do the advisory budget first?
Yeah, let's just do that one right now while we're doing it. We didn't mention this is a term expiring April 1st, 2028.
He did.
I did,
Oh, you did.
in the
He
motion.
did a motion.
You know,
You were talking about.
I was talking a bunch, exactly.
All right. I'll follow that up with a motion to appoint Jessica Mayhew to the Advisory Budget Committee with a term that shall expire April 1st, 2028.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
There's going to be no recommendation for Mike Courier or Mark Halloran because they're on the committee right now. We just realized that their appointments had expired and we needed to get them updated.
And did we stagger these at all? Are they 2-year appointments?
There's other people on the board who are stacked, so.
Okay, so when you set these
Make
ones
sure
up,
that- yep.
perfect. All right, so let's take Michael Courier Advisory Budget Committee first.
All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Courier to the Advisory Budget Committee with a term that shall expire April 1st, 2027.
Second?
Any discussion? Having served on the Advisory Budget Committee, Michael has been fantastic for many, many years, so happy to have him officially on the committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And let's stick with Michael Courier and do Capital Improvement Plan Committee.
All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Michael Courier to the Capital Improvement Plan Committee with a term that shall expire April 1st, 2027.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'm having a realization. Do we have the authority to appoint to the Capital Improvement Plan Committee?
You do.
It's not a subcommittee of the Select Board, it's a subcommittee of the Planning Board.
The planning board is a subcommittee of us.
Mm-mm.
They
It's elected
choose,
body.
Oh, it now is, yeah.
Sure is.
it's not elected until,
It's elected
March.
now. We can't, if a planning board member leaves, we can only appoint them through to election. They are effectively an elected body now.
so if you want to hold off on those, then I will check.
I mean, we just appointed Jessica, but, details.
I would say,
Can appoint them through town meeting 2026. Up until town meeting 2026, because it's not on the ballot as of 2025.
We sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I'm not so confident. I don't think we have the authority to appoint anybody to that subcommittee.
Seems like we would, because there aren't elected officials yet on the planning board. They don't.
I think they've always, but the CIP has always been a subcommittee of the planning board. It's why I serve as the alternate on the planning board, so that I can serve on the subcommittee.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that
So you
was
think the
reasoning.
I think CIP is
planning
a
board,
I think
appoints
planning board
all these
appoints
members?
CIP. I think they do.
I can check tomorrow morning.
yeah,
I'll check first thing.
I mean, we're
Huh.
well in progress, and these people are all kind of serving in those roles, but I would like the appointments to be correct.
I'll check in the morning.
And I also don't think the planning board would object to any of this either, but. So we'll put those to the side, and let's go back to Mark Halloran for Budget Committee, where we definitely have authority.
All right. I'll make a motion to appoint Mark Halloran to the Advisory Budget Committee.
Second.
Mary Ann's faster. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Whew, there's the appointments done. All right. We have some amendments to the parking ordinance in front of us. And Chief Buffington to speak to them.
So these are, which one are we doing first? Parking? Is that what you said?
Parking, please.
So these are the changes that we talked about at the last meeting. The first thing you'll see on page 2 is the definition of a parking enforcement officer. Page 3 is the fine amount of $100 for the administrative for the boot fee. And if you skip to page 5, this was just adding the language for paying through a parking meter or a mobile application such as Park Mobile, so that it's actually in there. And also in paragraph 3 in that same page, I added that it's only 25 cents in the meters now, there's no other coins, or to pay through a mobile application. Page 6 was again just the word of parking enforcement officer. And then again, just the social media on the back, adding that for notification system. And I think those are all the changes we had discussed at the last meeting.
Matches my recollection.
Matches mine as well. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the amendments and fees to the town's parking ordinance.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You just have to sign on the back page. My name is on the other page. Because it bled over. And while we have you at the podium, let's talk about the disorderly action ordinance.
Yeah, so the changes on this one, again, were from the last meeting. This is on page 2, and this is outlining the wording recommended by the board in terms of the areas for Jake Break to be used. Specifically, any area outside the highway, commercial, and industrial and commercial development zones. And I believe that was the additional wording that we wanted to add.
That looks right.
What?
That looks right.
Yeah, that's my recollection of it.
I'm looking to you as a more recent planning board attendee.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendments to the town's disorderly action ordinance.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Chief. Okay. Flying through
On the
these.
floor. Sorry, Ann.
All right.
The next one's from Anne.
All right, so according to the assessors from Whitney Consultant, there's been recommended changes to two tax credits. These are the standard and the optional veterans tax credit and the tax credit for service-connected total disability. Right now, as a veteran, you can get both of these. With this change in the RSA, you cannot get both of these any longer. So in order to make the understanding that the total service-connected disability veterans still get the same credit, she's recommending that we increase the service-connected total disability to $2,750 from the $2,000 it is right now. And that would be just, I need your permission, and the reason I'm bringing it to you is because I'd like to put this on the warrant in March to make this change, so that they do not lose any benefits. That amount can go up to $5,000, but generally the town has stayed right around the 27. And You can tell me if you want a different number in there, but these are her recommendations for now to make sure that those veterans are not penalized for this change.
So previously, the one that we had adopted,
The town has adopted both of these.
we've adopted both of them.
Yes.
But,
And
and they used to, you could get both previously, and now you can't get both?
correct. Yep.
So the recommendation would be to take the larger of the two all the way up to 2750.
The total, that's correct.
Yeah.
So in order to, again, move this forward onto the warrant, we wanted to bring it to the board and make sure that they understood what we were doing and how this works. And if you're okay with that, I don't really need a vote. I just need to be able to, your consensus, and I'll move it forward from here.
So we're looking to increase RSA 7235, which is the connected total disability,
Correct,
to 2750.
correct. Because right now, they are receiving the 750, the standard,
Yes.
and the 2,000,
But the 2000 is connected to disability
Only for
discharge.
disability, yeah.
only disability, that's correct.
So, but if a veteran is discharged but not disabled, would they qualify under that?
No, they would only get the 750.
They can only get the 750.
Right, and that
And
credit
We're
can,
still going to maintain RSA 7228, though.
yeah, that still goes up to the 750. That is the max for that.
Okay.
Okay. It's just that the service-connected total disability individuals would be penalized
Gotcha. Okay.
with this change.
So that they would, so the disabled veteran would no longer be eligible for the 750.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And so we're
Okay.
adding 750 to that, so
Make it so that they're eligible.
Makes sense.
And
Okay,
then the,
or we're proposing it, because we're just putting it on the
right,
right.
and so the up to 5,000, was that there before, the up to 5,000?
The RSA says that you can go up to 5,000. There's not many towns that have gone up to the full 5,000 because it can, you know, depending on how many total service-connected disabilities you have in your town. If you move that from, you know, 2,000, now you're taking $3,000 off, 3,000 additional off their taxes,
Okay,
from the 2 to the 5.
okay.
So a lot of people don't, a lot of towns don't go up to that, but you can.
Yeah,
Most towns use the median.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But the additional 750 could be covered by the up to 5,000 without changing anything, right?
No, because the town votes for exactly
amount.
how much the town pays.
I see.
So it's not at our discretion, it's whatever the
Gotcha.
town has voted in.
Okay.
But you, what I meant by that is you can move that up to $5,000 if you wanted
Okay.
to.
Right, if we were like, oh, 2750 is not enough, let's go to
Oh,
3000.
a general
or let's go-
statement
yeah.
as
Correct.
opposed to an individual.
Or someone could
Gotcha.
floor motion it to
They could.
higher as well.
Change it, yep,
Okay.
on the floor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Gotcha, thanks, Ed.
So I'm just looking for guidance to make sure that you guys, that all of you are happy with.
Thumbs up.
Yep,
You're good with
Yeah.
that?
750 makes sense to me.
I think that's,
Okay.
that's
So
the right
that's where we'll
answer.
head.
And that, we'll see that on the
You'll see it on
draft
the warrant.
when it
Yep.
comes along, so nothing to vote on related to that this evening. Thanks, Ann. Okay, the leasing documents for a new ambulance. I guess this one's yours as well, Ann.
It's for me as well. So at town meeting 2025, the town voted for and accepted a lease agreement for a new ambulance. We did not move forward with getting the lease put in place because the company that's actually building the lease, or building the ambulance, indicated they didn't need any money. So why go into leasing and get yourself into the financing until we have to?
right.
Well, we've found now that it's time to start ordering supplies for that, so we will need to put this lease in place. The request here is to approve this lease with Franklin Savings Bank and to authorize Scott as your town manager to go forward and finish those negotiations. We did put $113,000 in the budget. The lease is coming in at $103,000. So that, we were close, okay? And it is the $450 for the entire, for the full lease of 5 years.
And if I'm reading this correctly, the first payment will occur on December of '26.
Yes, and we actually put funding, we already have funding in this year for that, that's right.
The other thing we'll make sure that's included in the contract is an escape non-appropriation clause in the event that this does not pass at town meeting as a warrant article.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the leasing documents for the ambulance and equipment, and allow Scott Whedon, town manager, signing authority on the necessary bank documents.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have a list of town holidays to approve for 2026. Looks pretty standard.
These are the same holidays as we had in 2025. There's no additions or takeaways from the schedule that you have in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 town holiday list.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we've got our schedule of board meetings for 2026.
And remember, there are, as we get into November, December, we always add a bunch of meetings like we did on this first
Budget
page
meetings.
here, budget meetings.
Yeah.
And they're always generally second and fourth Mondays.
We'll have a national election next year as well, right?
We'll have a
Midterms.
Midterms, yeah.
Yeah, the midterms.
2026 midterms.
Midterms. So we'll have, it's not on this schedule, but we'll be obligated to be.
November?
Yeah,
Is that what
November.
that is?
Yeah, November midterms.
I'll ask her to put it on.
And maybe a primary as well. They usually primary, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have both.
Yeah.
That's in, I think that's in September.
I think they moved it up, though.
Oh, did they?
I believe they did.
Anyway, we should get those, those two dates added to the schedule so we don't lose them. Thank you. Any concerns about this schedule other than those notes?
Bless you.
All right, signature file.
We have just a few items. We have a report of wood cut with a yield tax assessment. This is for, the owner is at 167 Reservoir Road. The map is 106 Lot 5. Yield tax, $4,608.75. Two places to sign on that. The next item we have is a land use change tax. The subject parcel consists of 2.47 acres of land removed from current use as part of the development of the new Riverside Landing commercial project. The impending sale price of the land is noted at $1.7 million. This area that just came out in current use is being valued at $950,000, and the land use change tax that the town's going to see is $95,000. Okay. So there is additional information there if you want to see it. Two signatures, black ink would be preferred. If you don't have black, I have it. You got pink over there, Zach?
Got black. No fancy colors for me this evening.
And that is all I have.
We also have the MS 535 in here.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that's the MS 535 that shows what the new value, I'm sorry, that shows that the audit has been complete. and that is a report that goes to DRA. It is actually completed by the auditor, reviewed by us. The numbers look right on, and I just need a signature from the board members so that we can upload that and get ready to set our tax rate.
Thank you. I know that's a lot of work. Just a signature for us.
Still
but
waiting for
it's,
the government to open to finalize it, but we're getting there.
Do we have like an average of how much things went up, or?
Yeah, I believe that it went from 747,000 to 747 million to 819 million. Quite a bit. We still haven't had a chance to speak to the auditor to see if it was more single-family homes or if it was commercial. I believe it's more single-family homes.
which is
That's my thought.
Makes sense.
unfortunate, but
It is, but that's what.
it's the
people
reality.
Yep.
It's the reality. Okay, that takes us to committee reports. Jason, you're first up.
A lot of discussion about budget stuff as we get in that time of year. One of the first things is Sewer and Water is down a member for their board as Tom resigned. They got their insurance rates and looking at a 14% increase to that. So they are worried about covering that as they currently pay 100% of that. So that's going to be an issue going forward. Additionally, their insurance has gone up. Primex is moving it from $32,000 to $42,000, and this is just because of the state of what's going on, more climate events and more things like that, and so they're increasing their premiums. They are dealing with a couple different capital projects, the chlorine tank replacement and the pump station 4, and they're moving how they're paying it from the general maintenance, pulling it from the trust fund to stay within the general maintenance budget. They're going to withdraw $149,000 from one of the funds, but that's being phased out so that's still accounted for. They, like I said, they're looking at their budgets right now. Looking at their standard 5% increase to keep rates increases level. But they were looking at the budget operations and feel like it's going to be sitting flat for year over year. They are going to be putting a capital request for a vehicle, as 5 out of 8 of their vehicles are over 10 years old. So one of the questions they did have is the town, do we lease a majority of our vehicles? I know we just did the document for the ambulance, but
We lease the larger vehicles, but for example, police cruiser we buy outright.
okay. So they have concern about their aging fleet, and they're looking at practices to see, what the town does overall and whether they should be leasing their own vehicles or purchasing outright. So that
The
was
good
one
part
of the
about leasing is you get into this regular cycle, and
Yeah.
if you can get them all staggered properly, it's more predictable.
questions. Okay.
That's why we've moved to it in a lot of things. I'm honestly not sure why we haven't moved to it with the cruisers, but
What's that,
I
Zach?
said I'm not entirely sure why we haven't moved to leases with the cruisers, but we just haven't talked about it
We
in a few
looked at
years.
that with Enterprise and a couple other leasing, and it wasn't in our favor to do that based on
Yeah.
the cost.
We do a little bit of hand-me-downs on the police cruisers as well, where we're putting those to like parking enforcement and some of that, and not buying new cruisers for. Right, we do some cascading there in that department.
Both in the police and fire.
Right.
Other than that, they're looking to pay down some of their debt to save about $300,000 in interest, and looking to set up different trust funds to match what the USDA wants in regards to how making sure funds are obligated to projects that they're working on. And of course, they're having problems because of the government shutdown and funds being frozen. So, and then last but not least, they're hoping that the Holderness well will come online in about 2 weeks, and that was a week ago when that comment was made. So, That is it.
coming soon.
Yes.
Great. Without Phil, do you happen to have any sort of planning board related
I do.
update?
So they met, excuse me, they met last Thursday. A majority of the discussion was on short-term rentals and other zoning amendments that they're looking forward for March of 2026. But really, the bulk of the conversation was on short-term rentals with Tom Newcomb, building inspector and code enforcement officer, as well as the planning board, entering into dialogue about how they can move that forward.
Perfect.
So is that like Airbnb things?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because technically those are against the zone uses, correct?
Because they're not included, correct.
Right.
Not that they don't exist.
Yeah,
La la.
Ted, school district.
All right, first up, Plymouth Elementary School. The meeting was held on November 3rd. They had an enrollment update from the principal. School currently has 386 students, and they did a breakdown, which I'm not going to detail here. The decrease from last month's 394 is attributed to several students moving and ongoing housing challenges in the community. Talked about a number of events. They had a Halloween event, a major parade. Everybody was well behaved. They said that the high school and middle school students contributed, and they had a memorable flash mob dance featuring a special guest. Upcoming events. Third grade will go to the Museum of Fine Arts. Report card training for teachers is scheduled. And Veterans Day Assembly is set for today, the 10th. Veterans expected to attend. Thanksgiving luncheon is being organized over 2 days. Some notable things from the facilities area. Changes to parking lots that are underway. They, especially to improve handicap parking. Signs are being added to ensure proper enforcement. Let's see what else. They did detail out a Chromebook policy update. This is really surrounding more about what they do if one is negligently damaged, and it details that a $150 fee is charged for the replacement. If no further damage occurs, then the fee is applied to the student's 8th grade trip. Additional incidences incur further fees. And then if you have additional incidences, it doesn't go towards the senior the 8th grade trip. Let's see, staff, student athletics. Fall sports season concluded successfully with the thanks to the coaches and staff. Winter sports signups have closed. And they also did talk about food debt service collection. And what they're doing is, this is where you have people who can pay that are just not paying. So they're going to set a limit of $150 once you reach that limit, and they're going to send it out for collections. But in the end, no student is denied a meal. If they come in, they need a meal, then they get it. And that concludes what I have for PES. Moving on to the high school. They had a detailed student report, so I'm going to kind of hit the highlights. The Honor Societies, French and Spanish, held inductions on the 23rd of October. 12 new Spanish and 4 new French ones. World Language Day, French and Spanish classes attended a World Language Day at UNH. They had an OIP conference, and I don't remember what OIP stands for, but getting to a Y conference at PSU. This is intended for Youth Risk Behavior Survey. 19 students from PRHS participated. They held a blood drive. collected over 41 bags, matching last year's total from 2 events last year. They are planning another one in the spring. They had a culinary competition. So 2 students won first place at the Big Crowd Cook-Off, earning $3,500 for the department and $500 each for that. The upcoming events: Apply New Hampshire Day, coming up on the 14th, so later this week. Seniors can apply to New Hampshire colleges and universities for free and enter for a $500 raffle prize. So, if any of you guys are seniors in here, go for it. Fall sports wrap up: field hockey and boys soccer made playoffs. Cross country athletes reached the meet of champions. Golf team placed 3rd in D3 states, and winter sports begin November 17th. The principal's report, pie orders, and the musical flyer. So the reminder, the Little Mermaid, and they have pie order forms. Let's see. Quarter 2 begins. The grades for quarter 1 were verified, and report cards were emailed to students and parents. They have an AI task force, and they're participating, organized by the assistant superintendent. The group will be discussing pros and cons of AI in education, but no formal policy changes yet. They had 2 flu vaccine clinics, one for students, one for adults. Attendance was moderate. Let's see. Faculty safety training, October, focus on safety. Rod Diamond from the police department provided craze training, civilian response to active shooter events. The event was well attended and prompted further review by emergency management team. Let's see. They had a math curriculum change. Math department is going to be aligning Algebra 1 and 2 to the new standards, and they're proposing replacing pre-calc honors with AP pre-calc, granting AP honors GPA to bump calculus and statistics. So basically, if you take those AP classes, you get as I understand, a bump in your GPA because they are honors level. And they have a dual enrollment status with Lakes Region Community College, so you can get credit for both high school and college. So these changes will affect transcripts and are intended to encourage students to pursue advanced math. They had a number of policy approvals. These were ones that were already discussed in the previous meeting. They were just approving them. Approval for a field trip, and that was that.
Any questions for Ted? Thanks, Ted. But you're still on the hook for Conservation Commission.
Conservation Commission meets Tuesday the 18th at 7 p.m. right here.
All right. CIP, you heard discussed in Scott's update, met last Thursday and again today, and meet again on Thursday, which is going to be my update for Budget Committee as well. Although on Budget Committee, if anybody does have any questions, not that we're at that stage yet, but I do have the draft here if anybody wants to see sort of the current state of what it's looking like. Any updates from John or Bill on LRPC?
I did. I got an update from John on Lakes Region Planning Commission following the annual meeting that took place on September 22nd in Tufton Borough and October 27th in Tilton. As of the September Executive Board meeting, core issues discussed were the budget proposal for 2026, grant awards, and brownfield work that's being completed. They talked about the DOT 10-year plan projections, They talked about the Housing Opportunity Program work and circuit riding to meet municipal needs. They also discussed the appropriations chart with regards to how Plymouth's increase compares to other municipalities and how the LRPC HHW program works, and all were approved unanimously by the board. At the September Commissioner meeting in Tuftonboro, they discussed the DOT updates, discussion led by Transportation Planner Glenn Tretham, included information to inform preparations for upcoming GACIT hearings, GACIT hearings. Following these business items, the Commission received a legislative update on the RSAs related to land use law from Shanna Saunders, the Executive Director at LRPC. At the October 8th Executive Board meeting, the board discussed routine updates pertaining to the budget, municipal planning efforts, and federal grants, and the DOT transportation plan. And that pretty much covers the report.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for getting that from John. Ted, you had something to add to the PRHS?
I did. They are meeting on the 18th at 5 p.m. for their budget review process. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that in case anybody was interested.
And that's the high school.
High school.
And we don't
PRHS.
have anything about budget process from the elementary school yet.
Nope, not yet.
Probably their next meeting, they'll be talking about that, I guess. Thank you. Good addition. Parks and Rec.
We meet this Wednesday afternoon.
All right. No Phil Energy Commission. Anybody else have any insights?
Well, I can just, with regards to the energy audit, with regards to Grace and Brian attending the meeting with LCI, the contractor, we discussed the energy audit, when it would be started, and hopefully having the results back mid-December.
Perfect. I mentioned Advisory Budget Committee. Again, if anybody wants to peruse this, you can. Chamber of Commerce, Mary Ann.
We meet Thursday morning. It's Thursday morning.
Any update on PERLAC?
I did ask Bill, but I did not receive an update.
Fire and Police Building Assessment Committee?
We
We
meet Wednesday.
meet
Wednesday.
Wednesday, thank you, Jason. Wednesday at 9 o'clock
Wednesday morning at
here.
9 a.m.
So we should have an update on the Phase 1 environmental study, as well as we have a guest coming in to speak on energy efficiency in building a new building.
Perfect.
I might be a couple of minutes late to that, as I have a doctor's appointment at 8:30. So
All right. And union negotiations were
Monday, the 3rd at 8:30 a.m. We did meet, we had a discussion, but we'll be talking more about that in non-public.
all right. Economic Development?
We met last Monday, the 3rd. The focus started to be the master plan, especially the economic development piece. That certainly spurred a lot of conversation. One of them, Jason and Scott, had recently attended a water and sewer meeting, and obviously keeping water and sewer in the loop in mind with anything that we're looking towards that affects them, and keeping that going, along with, now that we're a housing champion, once again, just trying to keep all that in mind. So, yeah, as we went through go through the economic development piece, it spurred a lot. We talked about a business focus group and what that looks like. Do we do a survey? It gets a little, right, is it just downtown business owners? Is it all business owners? More starting maybe with some sort of digital survey, which then led into conversations about the UNH extension and possibly engaging with them, and especially for the surveys. Sorry. We also talked a bit about parking, and I meant to shoot you a reminder and potentially embarking on getting a parking feasibility study done, and seeing if there's monies left or monies in the parking budget to cover those costs. Now, I think it might have been at John's suggestion. I took a look at Exeter's. They had a focus parking study done, a feasibility study. They worked with Stan Tech. Okay. So they did an extremely thorough feasibility study. It was also at a cost of $50,000. Their pieces were different. You know, our pieces, their pieces are different. So, you know, we're trying to get our arms around that as well. The Exeter study, similar stuff as far as downtown. They did a photo time lapse, which was kind of, that's cool. Like, really seeing the averages of how long do they actually stay in those parking spots. Right now, I believe everything down there is free. The average was a little under 2 hours. So that they're not quite sure if they actually have an issue as perceived. Not sure if that's the right word. Anyway, so the interesting thing about that feasibility study, obviously, is it then takes you forward. You know, here are possibilities that you could look at, and then here are actionable items on those possibilities. So, from my opinion, you get some good stuff for that. Anyway, so that was a piece of the economic development, digital survey, business owners. I need to follow back up with Joseph. I know who's shooting out or following up with Ann Duncan Cooley and Sue Cagle and have them come in. We did talk, we only meet once a month for an hour. We may have to increase that, especially as if we get Sue and Ann in and being flexible, you know, around their availability. So we're just going to have to play that by ear, but I do need to follow up with Joseph on that. And that is all the excitement.
All right, any questions for Mary Ann? With that, it takes us to public comments. Mr. Hoke.
Mr. Terrell, for those who don't know me, I'm Brendan Hoke. I'm a Plymouth resident for 21 years. And I want to first say thank you to the selectmen and those that were able to attend the recent DOT hearing at Peace Library a few weeks ago. I was really encouraged by the words of support for the projects on Tenny Mountain Highway and on Main Street. Attending that meeting, I was struck by some of the comments from some of the folks that spoke early on. I believe there were some families there with some children speaking about Main Street and the crosswalk that was originally on Main Street and is no longer there. And I scratched my head and I said, wow, I thought there was a crosswalk there, and I recently took a look, and lo and behold, the crosswalk that was going from Main Street to Old North Main Street no longer exists. If you look at it on Google Maps, on the satellite view, it does exist because it was there, you know, taking pictures prior. The only remnant that I can see that is left is that there is still signage indicating that there's a crosswalk ahead if you're traveling southbound on Main Street. And so obviously we had the recent construction project with the water main work, and I believe that section of Main Street was affected by that, but I was concerned as to the citizens that were there. We didn't have time to address it that evening as to the reasons for why that crosswalk may have been removed, if it was accidental or if there were other reasons at play that perhaps were not made to light, and if there's anything that we can do sooner rather than later because it was a pre-existing condition.
So I can give you an update on that. Whereas the railroad tracks were affected by the construction, the New Hampshire Department of Transportation Railroad Division will not allow pedestrians to cross their railroad track, in which led to New Hampshire Department of Transportation Division 3 denying the request for a crosswalk there because it led people across a deadly zone.
So the issue then is with the railroad division of DOT, not necessarily the traditional
That was
transport.
the main reason why the crosswalk wasn't allowed.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, because again, the family that spoke, I actually went down there. I parked at the dead end on Old Main Street and looked at the situation, and it did not look great. And then they mentioned, folks that are walking down from Common Man Inn and the few alternatives that they have. So, okay. Well, thank you for bringing that to light. Thank you.
Yeah, dangerous area for sure.
Yep.
With no relief on the horizon. Anything else from the public? All right. Well, thank you, civic students. Always appreciate your attendance. And I think this is the first time in a long time we've had a short enough meeting that we didn't lose the majority of you, which I'm going to count as a win. So thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate all of you.
That, I'm going to make a motion to go into non-public accordance to RSA 91-8:3, number 2, A, personnel, and D, real estate.
I'll second.
Jason.
Aye.
Zach. Aye. Ted.
Aye.
Marianne.
Aye.